Hello and welcome to iCallify. In this video we will see how to configure a trunk, carrier or a provider. Trunk is used to make outgoing calls or to receive incoming calls. To create a new trunk in iCallify system, you can click on a trunk tile from the account dashboard or navigate to configurations, call and trunks. As you can see, we are having two options here. One is to add trunk and another is to copy trunk. If you already have a trunk created in your system and you want to copy the configurations and create another trunk, then you can use the copy trunk feature. But if you want to create a completely new trunk, then you should use the add trunk option. Let's create a new trunk. Basically, iQualify supports two types of technology, SIP and PRI. For SIP, you can configure simply from the details which you have received from your SIP VoIP provider or the trunk. And to configure the PRI trunk, you should first attach the PRI line with your iQualify server and then connect with our technical support team to guide you further. Let's create a SIP trunk. If this trunk is going to be used only to receive the incoming calls, then you should use the inbound as direction. And if this is going to use only to make the outgoing calls, then outbound. And if it is for both, then you should use both as the direction. Let's create the outbound trunk. Name. You should use some friendly name which can be recognized easily by you for further future references. Let's say my trunk. You can put any description like this is a testing trunk. If you have username and password, then you can put it. But in my case, I am having the IP based authentication for this trunk, so I will just need the IP and the domain. So I am keeping username and password as blank and putting the IP address or a domain here. Let's say switch.inextrix.com. And if you are having some other port rather than the default 5060, then you can mention it here by using the colon and mentioning the port. In my case, I am having a default 5060 port, so I can keep it like only domain rather than mentioning the port. You can read it here. If this trunk is going to be used for incoming call and your SIP username is different than the inbound number, then you can specify the DID number here. I am keeping it blank for our case. If your outbound trunk provider needs any specific prefix to pass the calls, then you should keep it here. Codex. Codecs are ideally used to pass the audio. In iQualify, we are having various codecs enabled in the system. So based on your trunk provider settings, you can enable any codecs which are required and set the priority by simply dragging it like this. If you want a specific trunk to set as the failover trunk, let's say I want trunk 1 to be the failover trunk for this trunk. So if my calls are failed from this new trunk, then it will be forwarded to trunk 1. If you want a specific caller ID to be set when we use this trunk, then you can specify it here. However, this feature is currently experimental, so we do not guarantee it work 100%. You can specify the maximum concurrent calls for this trunk. 0 is for unlimited, and if you want to limit this trunk to send only 5 calls or 10 concurrent calls, then you can specify it here. Let's set 5 and simply hit the save button. So my trunk is added. You can simply see it here. Thank you for watching this video.